Hey guys, this is Drake from the Unspoiled Hunter. I realized after making my last video that it was just much too long. 45 minutes, pretty long video. The average person is not going to watch an entire 45-minute video. So I'm going to do the same thing here, much shorter format. So you can see here I've got onX pulled up. You can see the markers that I left during my previous video. You can see I have my map layers set up to show acorn producing oaks, government lands, and I have private lands turned off. When you go to do this yourself, you can turn on private lands. I just don't want to display people's names by videos. You can see all these different colors laying down on the map here. These are all different public lands. So basically the way that I did it, and just again to give you a very quick version, I just said, let's assume that you live in this place called Andrews right here. Well, you would start with the hunting regs. I normally use a paper version, but we're going to use the online version of the regs just for the purpose of me being able to show it to you. I happen to know that I am in Game Zone 3. It's going to show you Game Zone 3. That is actually not the page that I'm looking for. It's actually up in here, WMA regulations. And then from there, you need to go to Game Zone 3. And this is what's really important, is you need to take a look at these WMA names and then look at the dates that different things are available at those different WMAs. So you'll see like here, Bono Ferry, WMA, deer archery is between September 16th and 30th. And then they have all these specific dates. These are probably weekends for when it's open during gun hunts. And then you can just go look at all the different named WMAs. So the way you use this is you're going to use onX, which just for a real quick rundown of onX, you can get the single state for $34.99 a year. It's often on sale for about $17 per year. Just take a look for that. I pay for the Elite, which is $100 per year. Definitely worth it for me, but if you're just getting started, I'd recommend you start with this single state version. So go back to onX. Again, let's just say you lived in this town called Andrews. You would lay down these hunt map layers, which show you the public land. This public land will be any of this blue or this green area. This green area down here, this is all Francis Marion National Forest. And then this blue with the dots here, these are WMAs. So if you lived in this town, Andrews here, you would look at what WMAs are close to you. And with that information, you would say, okay, WT Wildlife Management Area is not too far from me. Francis Marion isn't that far. Maybe Greenfield, WMA right there, not too far. Those are all places that you could potentially hunt just based on how far they are from where you live. Now, with that information, you would come back over to here to these named WMAs, and you would take a look at the WMAs that you just named and looked at. Let's see, Francis Marion National Forest has these specific dates that you need to be aware of. Hellhole is a specific portion of Francis Marion National Forest. It has these specific dates that you need to be aware of. And you just take that in account with planning your hunts and planning when during the year you are going to hunt. So let's say you found a sign in Hellhole and you want to go hunt in Hellhole WMA, but you only do gun hunts. So then your dates start October 11th through to January 1st. And you can modify that based on whatever life scenario you personally are in and what type of hunting you want to do and which WMAs you want to go to. So for now, the one that I laid down some pins in on my previous video, I believe they would fall under the category of, let's pull up here, other WMAs. I'm not 100% sure about that. You would need to ask your local game warden, or maybe you can figure it out through Digger Deeping on DNR's website. This area over here that we laid pins in is called WET, Wildlife Management Area. Which, if you scroll through here, there is no WET Wildlife Management Area in this list, which means it either falls into other WMAs, or the other thing that it could be is it could fall into the Francis Marion National Forest Hunt Unit. So what I would do is I would just call a local DNR station and just ask them, and they would be able to happily tell you which category it falls into. Now, that's a specific scenario that most people don't find themselves in, but if you ever find yourself in a scenario where you're not sure what the regs are, you can always call DNR and ask them. So, anyways, you'd go about it as, let's say you live in this town over here. You would find a WMA that is close to you. And then the biggest thing that I talked about, and I spent 30 minutes going into in my previous video, was if you just look at this giant mass of land here that's all WET Wildlife Management Area, the biggest thing that you need to do is just find inconsistencies in this terrain in order to find places where you could actually find deer. So this is an interesting spot that actually looks probably a little bit more interesting than the other areas that I showed in my previous video, especially because this looks like swamp right here. This looks like some clear fields, and then this looks like fresh cut. I'm actually going to lay a waypoint on this right here. That's going to be a future spot for me to go look at. So you can just use these basic pins for places that you just want to go look at. That's what I use those for. And then you'll notice in my previous video, I actually pointed out this area because this area looked like one of the most significant shifts in what the landscape looks like. I also talked about just look for changes in landscape. There's a change right here. There's a change right here. This whole area looks different than everything around it. This whole area looks different than everything around it. This area right here is a convergent of multiple different things that look different all in one little spot. You have this area that looks different. You have this little river right here. You have these deep woods over here. You have over here, if I could get the layers to show up, I don't know why they're not showing up on my computer. This is all oak trees right here. You have this different, that's right here. Maybe this is a water supply right over here, little watering hole. So this area right here would be a place that I would look at and go look boots on the ground and go explore because it's a convergent of multiple different environments all meeting one another. And that might be where you would likely find deer. Other big things I talked about is look at the private land around the area because you'll notice those look like ag fields. Those are probably cornfields. Those are probably cornfields. Those are probably cornfields. All of these big clear areas are probably places where corn is grown. So the deer are probably eating those corn out of those cornfields at night, and likely areas like this are very dense, and that's probably where they are bedding. So I'm not telling you to go hunt right on this edge, right next to someone's private land. Don't do that. That's a good way to make people mad. Instead, you want to come somewhere in here close to this bedding area and just know that they are bedded over here during the day. At some point late in the evening, they are going to get up and start meandering their way out this way or out this way, out towards those cornfields. And your goal is to get them before they cross into any of this private land. And same thing over here. You've got these cornfields. There's likely some bedding area somewhere out here. They are then wandering out into these cornfields. So you just want to find places where you are between where they are bedding during the day and where they are going late in the evening. And same thing with morning hunts is in the early morning hours before the sun comes up, they're out here in these cornfields eating the corn, and then they're going to find their way back to their bedding area later in the morning, around 7, 9, 10 in the morning. They're going to be back in these bedding areas. So you want to be in between what they're doing at night and where they're going in the evening. So that was just a much shorter version of that video, just so that you guys can have a much more consumable version of that video, because I understand, a 45-minute video is a lot, and most people are not going to go watch a 45-minute video. So this is a much easier way for you to watch it, and just a quick version of what I talked about in that 45-minute long video. You can feel free to go watch that long one, but I feel like more people are going to watch this shorter one. So just remember, like I always say, the only unsuccessful hunt is one in which you didn't learn anything. All right, guys, thanks for watching that new shorter version of the video. I figured shorter version is going to get more people watching. So thanks for coming and watching this extra video. Just remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Interact with these videos. Follow the Instagram page. That way I can see that there's actually people interested in what I'm doing. Because as of right now, there's really not that many. So the more that I get, the more I'm willing to just actually put the time into making these. So please interact with the videos. Give me some likes, give me some comments, something to add to it. Thanks, guys.